Hello everyone, it's Nicole with the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show, and I gotta tell you, today I am going to hit you up again. I'm still in Afghanistan, and just so you know, I will not discuss where I'm located exactly, nor will I discuss missions or who I'm here with and supporting. As some of you know who listened to the last broadcast, I'm now officially out of uniform again. Though this time it's because my contract ended, even though I did finish honorably, so I'm very happy with that. Though I really miss the uniform, especially being here, surrounded by awesome guys. I'm actually today going to speak about something I used to speak about a long time ago, and I'm going to focus on the fact that PTSD is not something the weak deal with. Now, why would I say that? We always hear how individuals with PTSD are victims, and the victims of PTSD or those suffering with PTSD, and many people, like a lot of soldiers. Now, you guys bear in mind, remember, my background is military, and I've been raised in the military. I've served in it now in 2 different branches. For a total of 13 years, the 2 years was taken to recover. But let's go back and talk about this. PTSD, when I say it is not for the weak of heart, why would I say something like that? Have you ever noticed that the individuals that have PTSD, especially in the military, are the ones who are always doing their best? They're always pushing, they're always giving everything. They take care of others, they listen, and I could almost imagine that each of you right now have someone in your mind that popped into your brain that may be struggling with PTSD. It is not for those who are weak. It's not those who are weak that get PTSD. It's usually the strongest individuals that are suffering with post-traumatic stress. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. It's not the weak. It's those who have fought and have taken care of others and who continually put themselves out there for the benefit of their teams, for the benefit of their buddies, take care of their families. They're the ones that people lean on, talk to. And don't think that just because they were quiet beforehand means that they were weak. They were probably the ones that were silently watching and holding up everyone before they suffered their trauma. And so I encourage you to look at PTSD a little bit differently. Just a little bit. I'm not asking you to throw, your brain at it. Just give me a piece of your mind for a second there, and just contemplate the fact that if you are struggling with PTSD, it is not because you are weak. Again, I say, if you are struggling with PTSD, it is not because you are weak. In fact, it is just the opposite. How many times have you been there for someone else? How many times has others relied on you? When was the last time you broke down? When was the last time you had someone to rely on? Are you independent? Are you the one that everyone knows will always have their stuff together? I did not say the word. I did cut myself off. Sorry, you guys, I don't curse on the air, and I don't like cursing because children are around, and they do listen. My daughter listens to this, even though she's not exactly the little kid anymore. My daughter listens, so forgive me if I offended anybody. But when was the last time? Would you be willing and open to the possibility, just look at it, of the fact that instead of being weak, you are very strong. You are not a victim so much as a fighter. And at this point right now, I'm very much so focused on those who have combat-related trauma, who have worn the uniform. But if you have never done that, look at your lives. Is it possible you have been the independent fighter in your life? It doesn't have to look like combat. It could look like you standing up to someone who is abusive. It could look like you not giving up even though somebody was committed to raping you, whether it be physically or mentally or whatever. You fought. Even if physically you could not, you fought mentally. You stayed strong despite the overwhelming circumstances that you found yourself in. Is it possible that you are stronger than you ever knew? I say yes. Now, getting back to those in the battlefield right now. Excuse me, I'm choking on dust here. Getting back to those in the battlefield. I've had the honor of going out with some of these guys. They watch out for me. And as much as they're watching out for me, it is a mutual pattern. Everyone is expected to pull their part, no matter if you're the one, manning the gun, if you're the one driving, or if you're the one pulling your 5 and 25s. Everyone does their part. Now, it's a little awkward right now because I'm a civilian now, working with them as a contractor. And if anyone says the word mercenary, I'm going to shove it back down your throat. I'm not a merc. But what I'm saying is, everyone has a purpose. Every single person in the patrol, every single person in the vehicle, every single person out, every person here has a purpose. And that's important. Remember, they have a purpose. When we go out, even I have a purpose, even though I am not their team member. I am someone that they allow graciously to be with them. Even I have a purpose. I'm CLS trained, so if something happens, I manage, make sure the flags are up, and I start working. That's my job in that moment. Just like everybody else, I have a purpose. When dealing with PTSD, many feel taken out of that purpose by the trauma of which they experienced. It leaves an individual feeling lost, disconnected, disassociated. They begin second-guessing themselves. They feel useless. They lose confidence in themselves. Does any of this sound familiar to you? And yet, this is where the strength comes in. You continue fighting. You keep seeking that purpose. You don't quit. PTSD is probably the most devious opponent you will ever meet. Why? Because it learns you. Ever feel that heart start pounding? You start feeling your body start going into the energy that starts going through you, anxiety. PTSD knows what gets you going. Think of it as just as a possibility. Remember, I'm only taking a piece of your mind. I don't want to throw this at your brain or throw your brain at this. Just a small part. Is it possible you are still a fighter? Because every day you fight to regain your ground, to regain who you are, to regain that purpose. Now, you guys know I don't like to be political, but it really frustrates me that they put people who have PTSD from a battle environment or a military experience out of the military. Because the one thing that I feel individuals with PTSD from a combat-related experience need is team, structure, support, purpose. every day I go out and I interact with everybody, and I get to listen and see what's going on, and I have the privilege of getting to listen when soldiers need to talk. And I've had some really strong soldiers that I have thoroughly respected since I arrived. Not because I had to. Some of these guys are brand new in the military. Some of these guys have been around forever. But when they carry themselves, I see a leader. I see someone who's not going to leave a buddy behind. Totally committed to the Army values. And I watch them work through their own struggles every day as they try to make sure, they're actually working on it very well, as they make sure their soldiers, their buddies, their teammates are cared for. And then they go back and they hide everything that's going on inside them. I feel this is a mistake. Why would I say mistake? I don't like using that word. I feel it is a mistake because they limit themselves on their own recovery, their own healing, their own sense of team. I asked one of the commanders that I have the pleasure of talking with, "Who's your buddy?" And as is typical for commanders when I get to talk to them, he said, "No one." Struggling with PTSD is not a solo event. It is very much a team event. It's a team situation. A team is only strong as, yes, the weakest link. And when you have strong individuals that are a strong team, it is not something that you separate. It's been shown in studies. You can look it up for yourself, and if I remembered exactly where it was, I would actually bring it up myself. It's been shown that individuals who are retiring or separating from the military have their symptoms show up within the first 6 months to a year following that separation. They begin to seriously notice their symptoms of PTSD. It becomes very prevalent. Why? Because you've taken them out of their structure, out of their team, out of their purpose. I keep hitting on purpose because I believe that's a very strong part of PTSD. When we talk about fighting PTSD, and I talk about it's the strong that are dealing with it, look at the people around you. Look at yourself. How were you before you went through this trauma? I bet you were somebody that people looked up to. Whether you recognized it or not is irrelevant. But others saw it in you. That was before. Now it is very relevant that you recognize what you are. You are strong. You are capable. You are trustworthy. You are powerful. You may not feel it right now, but recognize what you are. You are not a victim. You are a fighter. You deserve to see the worth of your own soul and recognize these things. So I said I wouldn't go ahead and have you throw your brain at this conversation, so I'm going to end this really quickly and just say, know that there are different possibilities out there. Be willing to look at yourself just a little differently. Reevaluate what you thought up until now. And see a possibility of you not being the weak link, but a strong person who has just been strong a little too long alone. This has been Nicole Johnson-Starr with the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show. Have a good day, guys and ladies.